Iron Man is a hero who cast an enormous shadow over the MCU while he was alive. After making the ultimate sacrifice in Avengers Endgame, he's most certainly gone, but not forgotten. His shadow remains, inspiring some while motivating others to commit heinous crimes. Tony Stark was a controversial figure, and only time will tell whether history remembers him as a hero or as a villain. Let's take a look at the legacy that he left behind. Quentin Beck. Comic book fans were excited to finally get to see Quentin Beck on the big screen in Spider-Man Far From Home. And we just knew there was going to be some kind of twist. No, not that he was going to turn out to be a good guy like the trailers made it seem. We're not that gullible, but we definitely knew Marvel Studios was going to put some fresh spin on this iconic comic book character, who's had it out for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for decades now. That twist ended up being the fact that Quentin Beck once worked for Stark Industries, where he faced the humiliation of not only being fired, but having the revolutionary technology he worked on called barf. We thought Quentin Beck would despise Spider-Man, but it turned out his true foe was Tony. Well, by the end of the movie, he probably wasn't a big Spider-Man fan either, but still. He may be gone, but his allies remain, and they're no less focused on bringing down Spider-Man and getting their revenge. Politics. Whether you're a superhero or not, there are plenty of situations in life that are either right or wrong. Stopping a bunch of aliens from invading New York City? Definitely the right move. Preventing a psychotic robot from wiping out the entire human race? Oh yeah, no question. That is a good call. But one reason Captain America Civil War was such a great movie was because it's debatable which of our heroes were on the right side, because there really was no clear-cut right and wrong. What we do know is that Tony willingly signed and enforced the Sokovia Accords, which regulate the activities of superhuman heroes. Now, we know the Sokovia Accords essentially turned Captain America, Black Widow, Falcon, and Bucky into fugitives. There was even a joke about this in Spider-Man Homecoming. But post-Infinity War, this got a little bit murky. Were the Accords still active? Was anyone actually enforcing them, considering Natasha Romanoff and Steve Rogers weren't keeping their whereabouts a secret? We have a feeling we're soon going to find out about current superhero legislation thanks to the mid-credits scene of Spider-Man Far From Home. Will Peter Parker be penalized for his role in saving the day from Mysterio? If so, Tony signing the Accords could have signed his protege up for a whole heap of trouble. Technology. One huge part of the movie Iron Man involved Tony Stark realizing the ramifications of selling weapons. This was a historical event in the MCU because it's one of the rare occasions when Tony actually stopped to think about the consequences of his actions. We know, too soon. Sorry, Tony. But the fact remains that even with their weapons division shut down, Stark Industries is an absolute behemoth in terms of resources and technology. In Spider-Man Far From Home, we learned Tony had left behind a pair of special Edith sunglasses for young Peter Parker. Edith, of course, standing for Even Dead, I'm the Hero. Peter promptly used the glasses to almost get himself and all of his classmates destroyed by a weaponized drone, but thankfully, he was able to save the day at the last minute. If that's what Tony's tech is capable of in the hands of a hero, just imagine what villains could do if they got their hands on it. Stark Industries. Let's not forget that even though Tony Stark is gone, Stark Industries still exists. It's a massive company filled with tons of employees, most of whom are probably innocent people who aren't organizing drone attacks all over Europe. Running it is a huge responsibility, and of course it's fallen on Pepper Potts. She's been the CEO for some time, and we're not saying she's not capable. In fact, she's so hardworking, determined, and organized that we're not sure she's entirely human. But with Tony gone, she has more on her plate than ever before, and she's also a single parent now. Oh, and let's not forget Pepper Potts has a super suit now. Getting a suit that gives you superpowers is pretty much a dream come true for most people, but let's not forget about the whole power and responsibility thing. At this point, it seems like the last thing Pepper needs is more responsibility. Power. Even though Quentin Beck had been furious at Tony Stark for quite some time, it wasn't until he was eliminated that Quentin put his plan into action. During Far From Home, he pointed out that Tony Stark being gone created a serious void of power. one which he himself hoped to fill. This is also a sentiment we've seen echoed in other Spider-Man media, including the video game for PS4. When Spider-Man takes out Kingpin, the evildoer cautions him that getting rid of him will only inspire other villains to step up. Just because someone is a villain doesn't mean they don't have a good point, and both Quentin and Kingpin's words seem pretty prophetic. With Tony gone, there definitely is a void of power in the MCU, and it's only a matter of time before someone steps up. Will it be someone with good intentions, or a villain like Norman Osborn, a character many fans are eager to see in the MCU? As we prepare to head into Phase 4 of the MCU, we look forward to seeing all sorts of new heroes like the Eternals, Nova, and many more. But of course, we'll be getting some new villains as well, and the more powerful the heroes, the more powerful their evil counterparts. Peter Parker. We all know Peter Parker has superpowers because he was bitten by a radioactive spider. It's a tale as old as time, but with less Stockholm Syndrome. There are some fan theories out there that suggest the spider came from Stark Industries, but we don't have enough evidence to blame that on Tony Stark, at least not yet. Peter was already Spider-Man before he met Tony, but Tony absolutely helped him take it to the next level. He invited a teenager to fight some of the most powerful beings in the MCU for an extremely nuanced cause that he knew precious little about. Then he supplied him with super suits, weapons, and those troublesome Edith sunglasses. Tony Stark is absolutely the reason Peter is the hero he is today, and that's not solely a good thing. At the end of Homecoming, Peter realized he needed to focus on his non-superhuman life, and he was desperate to reclaim some sense of normalcy in Far From Home. Vision. Everyone likes to harp on Tony Stark for creating Ultron, and quite frankly, we're guilty of that too. In our defense, creating Ultron was a pretty massive screw-up. But let's not forget that out of all that madness, we also got Vision, who was a powerful ally and an overall good guy. As we know, Vision lost his life not once, but twice in Infinity War, and it's pretty clear he isn't coming back. Although Wanda seemed to be keeping it together for Tony Stark's funeral, we have to wonder how long that's going to last. In the comic books, this character has a history of rather explosive and unpredictable behavior. And because she's so powerful, she's often a danger to those around her. Although Wanda has been presented as more stable in the MCU, it'll be interesting to see if that remains the same after the trauma of losing Vision. Multiverse. There are many reasons to love Peter Parker, but one of them is definitely that he gets as excited as we do about the MCU. In Spider-Man Far From Home, he was over the top excited about the idea of a multiverse being brought into the MCU. Quentin Beck did show up in Far From Home claiming to be from a different Earth that's now destroyed, but we all know that that's not true. Still, just because Quentin was lying about that doesn't mean there isn't a multiverse. In fact, it seems likely that there still is one. Especially since Tony and Scott Lang royally screwed up their mission to go back in time and grab the Space Stone. We're no experts on the whole time-space continuum thing, but we're going to guess that that's probably a bad thing. If that mistake comes back to haunt our heroes, Tony Stark isn't going to be around to help out. Iron Man. For better or for worse, Tony Stark made Peter Parker the hero he is today. But Peter isn't the only person to have been inspired by Tony. During his funeral in Endgame, we saw a familiar-looking face that some of us just couldn't place. Turned out to be none other than Harley Keener from Iron Man 3. He was included in the funeral scene to demonstrate how Tony's actions had impacted not only his fellow heroes, but regular people as well. In the comic books, there are many heroes who drew inspiration from Iron Man, and it may only be a matter of time before they show up in the MCU. After all, they've been teasing us about the Young Avengers for quite some time now, so it wouldn't be too surprising to see someone like Nathaniel Richards, also known as Iron Lad, show up. Kang the Conqueror. While Iron Lad may have been a hero, we have some bad news about the fate of this character in the comic books. Thanks to some time travel shenanigans, he eventually becomes known as the villain Kang the Conqueror. And it just so happens that Tony Stark invented a way to time travel in Avengers Endgame. In the comic books, Kang is a powerful foe and has given the Avengers lots of trouble. If Kang finds a way into the main MCU timeline, or if Tony's tech allows him to come into existence, it could have disastrous results. Not that we wouldn't be over-the-top excited to see Kang the Conqueror become part of the MCU, we just acknowledge that the heroes who have to fight against him might not feel the same way. Well, what do you think about the legacy Tony Stark left behind in the MCU? And how do you think it'll impact Phase 4? Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and then click subscribe for more from CBR. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.